Isaiah. Chapter 5. Let me sing of my beloved, a song of my beloved concerning his vineyard. My beloved had a vineyard on a fertile hill. And he dug it up and cleared away its stones, and he planted it with the choicest vine. Then he built a tower in the middle of it, and hewed out a wine vat in it. And he looked for it to produce grapes, but it produced only wild grapes. So then, you inhabitants of Jerusalem and you men of Judah, judge between me and my vineyard. What more could I have done for my vineyard that I have not already done for it? Why then, when I looked for it to produce grapes, did it produce only wild grapes? And now I will make known to you what I will now do to my vineyard. I will remove its hedge, and it will be consumed. I will break down its wall, and it will become a trampled place. And I will make it a waste. It will not be pruned, nor will it be hoed, but thorns and thistles will come on it. And I will command the clouds not to rain upon it. For the vineyard of Jehovah of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah, the plant of his good pleasure, and he expected justice, but instead, bloodshed. He expected righteousness, but instead, an outcry of distress. Woe to those who join house to house, who lay field to field, till there is no place left, and you dwell alone in the midst of the land. In my ears Jehovah of hosts has sworn, many houses shall indeed become desolate, great ones and fine ones shall be without inhabitants. For 10 acres of vineyard will produce a mere bath of wine, and a homer of seed will produce an ephah of grain. Woe to those who rise early in the morning that they may run after liquor, to those who linger into the evening that wine may inflame them. Lyre and harp, tambourine and flute, and wine are the essence of their banquets, and they do not consider what has been done by Jehovah, nor do they regard the work of his hands. Hence, my people go into exile for lack of knowledge, their nobility become famished men, and their multitudes, parched with thirst. Hence, Sheol enlarges its appetite and opens its mouth wide, without limit, and Jerusalem's splendor descends, and her din and her uproar and the jubilant within her. Thus the ordinary man is humbled, and the man of distinction is abased, and the eyes of the haughty are abased. But Jehovah of hosts is exalted in judgment, and the holy God shows himself holy in righteousness. Then lambs will graze there as in their pasture, and strangers will eat the wastelands of fat men. Woe to those who draw iniquity with ropes of vanity, and sin as with cart ropes. Who say, he should hurry up, he should hasten his work, so that we may see it, and the counsel of the Holy One of Israel should draw near and happen, so that we may know it. Woe to those who call evil good, and good evil, who put darkness for light, and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet, and sweet for bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes, and prudent in their own sight. Woe to those who are heroes in drinking wine, and men of valor in mixing liquor. Who acquit the criminal as a result of a bribe, but refuse righteousness to the righteous. Therefore as a tongue of fire consumes the stubble, and the chaff sinks in flames, their root will be like decay, and their bud will disappear like dust, for they have rejected the instruction of Jehovah of hosts and despised the speaking of the Holy One of Israel. For this reason the anger of Jehovah burns against his people, and he stretches out his hand over them and strikes them. And the mountains quake, and their corpses are like garbage in the middle of the street. In spite of all this his anger is not turned away, rather, his hand is still stretched out. He also lifts up a standard to a distant nation, and whistles to it from the ends of the earth, and indeed it comes with swift speed. None of them is weary, and none stumbles among them, no one slumbers or sleeps, and their belts are not loosened at their waists, nor are their sandal thongs broken. The arrows of these are sharpened, and all their bows are drawn, the hooves of their horses are considered to be like flint, and their chariot wheels like a whirlwind. Their roar is like a lion's, and they roar like young lions, when they growl and seize prey, they carry it away safe, and there is none to rescue it. And they will growl over it in that day, like the roaring of the sea. When one will look upon the land, indeed, there will be darkness and distress, and the light will be darkened with its clouds. Isaiah. Chapter 6. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on a high and lofty throne, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Seraphim hovered over him, each having 6 wings, with 2 he covered his face, and with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. And one called to the other, saying, Holy, 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 Jehovah of hosts, the whole earth is filled with his glory. And the foundations of the threshold shook at the voice of him who called, and the house was filled with smoke. Then I said, Woe is me, for I am finished. For I am a man of unclean lips, and in the midst of a people of unclean lips I dwell, yet my eyes have seen the King, Jehovah of hosts. Then one of the seraphim flew to me with an ember in his hand, which he had taken from the altar with a pair of tongs. And he touched my mouth with it and said, Now that this has touched your lips, your iniquity is taken away, and your sin is purged. Then I heard the voice of the Lord, saying, Whom shall I send? Who will go for us? And I said, Here am I, send me. And he said to me, Go and say to this people, Hear indeed, but do not perceive, and see indeed, but do not understand. Make the heart of this people numb, dull their ears, and seal their eyes, lest they see with their eyes and hear with their ears, and their heart perceive and return, and they are healed. And I said, For how long, Lord? And he said, Until cities lie devastated, without inhabitants, and houses are without people, and the land is devastated and a waste. And Jehovah has sent men far away from it, and desolate places abound in the midst of the land. But there will still be a 10th part in it, and it in turn is to be burned like a terebinth or an oak, whose stump remains after its felling, its stump will be a holy seed. Isaiah. Chapter 7. In the days of Ahaz the son of Jotham, the son of Uzziah, the king of Judah, Rezin the king of Aram and Pekah the son of Remaliah, the king of Israel, went up to Jerusalem to wage war against it, but they were not able to prevail against it. And it was reported to the house of David that Aram allied with Ephraim, and his heart and the heart of his people quivered as the trees of the forest quiver in the face of a wind. Then Jehovah said to Isaiah, Go out to meet Ahaz, you and Shear-Jashub your son, at the end of the conduit of the upper pool, on the road to the fuller's field. And say to him, Be careful and be quiet, do not fear, and do not be faint-hearted because of these 2 smoking firebrand stubs, at the burning anger of Rezin and Aram, and the son of Remaliah. Because Aram and Ephraim and the son of Remaliah have planned evil against you, saying, Let us go up against Judah and make it sick with terror and break it open for ourselves, and let us set the son of Tabal in its midst as king. Thus says the Lord Jehovah, It shall not stand, and it shall not happen. For the head of Aram is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin, and in another 65 years Ephraim will be shattered as a people. And the head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is the son of Remaliah. If you do not believe, surely you will not remain standing. Then Jehovah spoke further to Ahaz, saying, Ask for a sign from Jehovah your God, make it as deep as Sheol, or make it as high can go. And Ahaz said, I will not ask, and I will not try Jehovah. And he said, Hear now, O house of David, is it too small a thing for you to exhaust the patience of men that you will exhaust the patience of my God as well? Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign, behold, the virgin will conceive and will bear a son, and she will call his name Emmanuel. He will eat curds and honey until he knows how to refuse evil and choose good. For before this boy knows how to refuse evil and choose good, the land whose 2 kings you dread will be abandoned. Jehovah will bring upon you and your people and the house of your father such days as have not been since the days when Ephraim turned away from Judah. He will bring upon you the king of Assyria. And in that day Jehovah will whistle for the flies which are at the ends of the rivers of Egypt and for the bees which are in the land of Assyria. And they will all come and settle in the steep ravines and the clefts of the cliffs and on all the thorn bushes and on all watering places. In that day the Lord will shave with the razor hired from beyond the river, with the king of Assyria, the head and the hair of the legs, and it will take away the beard as well. And in that day each man will keep alive only a milk cow and 2 females of the flock. And because of the abundance of milk produced, he will eat curds, for everyone left behind in the midst of the land will eat curds and honey. And in that day every place where there could be 1,000 vines, worth 1,000 shekels of silver, will become thorns and thistles. Men will come there with arrows and bow, for all the land will be thorns and thistles. And to all the hills that once were hoed with the hoe you will not go for fear of thorns and thistles, but they will become a place for cattle to roam in and for sheep to trample. Isaiah chapter 8. Then Jehovah said to me, Take a large tablet and write on it in plain letters, for Marshalal-Hashbaz. And I will take faithful witnesses, Uriah the priest and Zechariah the son of Jeberechiah. And I went to the prophetess, and she conceived and bore a son. And Jehovah said to me, Call his name Marshalal-Hashbaz. For before this boy knows how to call, Father, and Mother, they will carry off the wealth of Damascus and the spoil of Samaria before the king of Assyria. Then Jehovah spoke further to me, saying, Because these people have rejected the gently flowing waters of Shiloah, and exult in Rezin and the son of Remaliah. Now therefore the Lord is bringing up upon them the mighty and abundant waters of the Euphrates, the king of Assyria and all his glory, and it will overflow all its channels, and go over all its banks. It will sweep through Judah, it will overflow and rise until it reaches the neck, and the spreading out of its wings will fill the breadth of your land, O Emmanuel. Be broken, O peoples, and be shattered, hearken, all you distant places of the earth, gird yourselves, yet be shattered, gird yourselves, yet be shattered. Take counsel, yet it will be frustrated, speak the word, yet it will not stand, for God is with us. For Jehovah spoke to me in this way with great force and instructed me not to walk in the way of this people, saying, You shall not call it conspiracy all that this people calls conspiracy, and you shall not fear what they fear nor be awed by it. You shall sanctify Jehovah of hosts, he shall be the one to fear and he shall be the one to be awed by. Then he will become a sanctuary, yet a stone to strike against and a rock of stumbling to both houses of Israel, a trap and a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And many will stumble at these, and will fall and be broken to pieces, and will be snared and taken captive. Bind up the testimony, seal the instruction among my disciples. And I will wait on Jehovah, who hides his face from the house of Jacob, and I will look eagerly for him. See, I and the children whom Jehovah has given me are for signs and wonders in Israel from Jehovah of hosts, who abides on Mount Zion. When they say to you, Inquire of the necromancers and the familiar spirits, who twitter and mutter, say to them, Should not a people inquire of their God? Should they go to the dead on behalf of the living? To the law and to the testimony. If they do not speak according to this word, it is because in them there is no dawn. And they go through it hard-pressed and hungry, and when they are hungry, they rage and curse their king and their God. They turn their faces upward. And they look to the earth, but there is only distress and darkness, the gloom of anguish and being thrust into darkness.